Okay, well, what I've kind of done here, to demonstrate this, is I've taken this 6" by 1/2" piece of foam here, and I did manage to get the paracord to actually slide through here. What you're going to have to do is take a lighter. Okay, you take a lighter, and you're going to basically have to burn the end like this, and then you're going to have to twist it to get it to, I don't know if you can see that up there. See how I got it to come to a point? And then you're going to have to run it through your sewing awl, and then, or your sewing awl needle, and one side of it has this little groove in here, which is the valley that allows the threading to slide through. So depending on, like I said, you have one side that's the runner. Like if you're using one of these, it comes in a spool, so you can either spool it. Like I said, if you're just using a short strand just for a small job or something, then do it like this. But you need to pull out enough that covers the span of the job. And I usually give myself an extra inch or two, just for good measure, so I can have something to finagle with. But to kind of demonstrate this, how this works, see, this is the side that's going to be pulling from the spool, or your long piece, right? And so depending on which direction you're going, so that's why I'm going to use this, we're going to demonstrate on this piece. Okay? You can start whichever direction you're starting on. So if you're going to do, say for instance, you need to stitch this, this, and this, and this, you would actually have to pull out enough, right, to cover that, plus extra. Remember, you're going to have a little slack, so I usually do about 4 fingers more than what I need. So you're going to have enough for that, enough for this. See where I'm going with that? Because it's going to be locking, you're going to be locking these stitches together. So, but this is coming from the side with the, see the little voweling in here? So we're going to kind of pretend, just for demonstration purposes, plus I'm using this amount of practice a little bit. So before I start doing this, I'm waiting on the glue to dry still. So, like I said, this is going to be in a spool, which makes it all the more weirder. So you're going to put it on one side where your thumb goes. Okay, that's the spool side. So depending on which direction you want to go with this, you would, let's see if I can find a better spot. Pull through. Now you need to tug that. Remember the piece I told you, if you're going to do it this way, then you need to pull that piece out. Okay? I hope y'all can see up there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to pull that through. Right? Now depending on which direction you want to go. So I'm like, okay, well I want to go to the right. So I'd pop that through there. See how I brought that down? I pushed it through and popped it like that. Now, what are you going to do? Well, I usually recommend keeping a pair of tweezers handy or something, but you're going to pull it through like that. Then you're going to pull it through. Boom. Now you just locked your thread. See, that's one piece. Then you're going to go again. Then you're going to go again. Okay? See how it comes out like that? Then you're going to pull down, and there should be a little loop. See how that loop wants to come out? When you pull down, the valley side of the awl will actually allow this to come up. And this is paracord I'm using, by the way. So, I mean, yeah, you can actually use this. It's real difficult to thread. Okay? Now, look. You see how that's locked together? See, now we have 2 loops. So if you have a material that's pretty decent to work with, see, pull through, push down like this. Yeah, and this is by hand, so, this might take a while, but if you have your setup correctly, or you got to know which direction you're going, like you're going to start from this end, work your way that way, as you can tell, just pull on it, pull that down. See, I've already done 3 stitches. See, that doesn't take very long. The problem is you got to figure out, well, I need to start on one end. See, pull your way down, or come all the way up. I usually come up at least halfway and pull down. Put your remember the amount, the thread that we need to use to lock these loops in. You're going to pull that through, then you're going to pull that in like that, and then you're going to pull down, and boom. And if you want to tighten that up, see how uniform those are? 1, 2, 3, so those locks. Then you pull that, see? And you just tug them together, and then it'll tighten up, see? So I use this foam to kind of demonstrate. And normally, like I said, if you had one of these or you had this free-handed, it'd probably be on a spool, or you'd have a certain amount free, but you would want to kind of spool it up somehow so where you can have more control over it. But you have to have enough for the distance to pull this through. So however long I need this to be, I have to have that much, and plus you're going to lose a little bit as you stitch. You have to have that much plus more. So whatever the length is, let's say I'm going to run a stitch from here to here, I always give myself extra, you know, because you got to tie off. You got to tie off, or you got to stitch it through and tie off somewhere. So as you can see the back side, and you can tug on this a little bit and tighten it up. See, now you got locking stitches. And if you're pretty good at it, if you're pretty good at this, you know, you can run it in a straight line, which is kind of like when I want to do this, but this is thicker material. Foam, this is pretty easy to run this through, see? That ain't nothing, but when you're dealing with heavier material, you know, some of this stuff you might want to have. Like I said, you can pull it through like this, see? And don't watch your thumb, because it does hurt. See how I got this loop coming out? You're just like, okay, well, I want to take a corner. You know, and you'll figure it out as you get better at this. You're like, oh, okay, well, I didn't do that right. See how they're on the back side? Now we have issues. But anyhow, if you screw up, like I just did, go ahead and pull that out and tighten it up again. See, but that's the end of the line, so what am I going to do? Well, at that point, you need to leave yourself some slack. You know, in this knot right here, and this knot right here, you know, pull some slack out right here. See where I'm pulling? And you can pull this back out if you did it right. Pull that out, you know, just tie your knot off. But if you're using paracord, which is what this is, it doesn't seem like it would work that bad. Just getting started and know what kind of material it is, that it will twist and bind up on you. This piece right here, if it's heavy duty. So that's why I'm kind of like, I don't really know if that would be the, you know. So if you're getting towards the end of the line, like this, just tie it off. You know, find you, you know, a comfortable knot. Like I said, some of these knots I'm not really that great with. So you just tie this off once you get to the end of the line if you're going to do a stitch. Okay, I'm just using this piece of foam. So you just tie it off right there. Get you another one. You know, then you just snip it off when you're finished. You know, you can get this set up. See? But we just did a stitch right there. See how uniform that is? And that's with paracord. And I never used paracord before, so I was like, I had some. I was like, okay, well, that's what you got to do to get it on there. You have to burn the end and try to set it in there. Like I said, if you're using your sewing awl, which is one of our little recommended supply items for our kit, and you notice it just goes right through there, and you're going to have to pull on it, see? But that's the whole point of trying to heat this up and smash it to where it comes to a small point like that. Unless you're using one of those actually, those little hairline wire items where you actually are pulling the threading through the needle. And I don't remember what they call those, but my eyesight doesn't allow me to do fine threading anymore, so that's why I prefer the bigger stuff. But as you can see, this is the paracord. You have to burn the end and then run it through the awl. But you got one side of this awl, which has basically like a little valley or a crease cut into it to allow this to pass through, especially if you're using this item right here. So they do have these at, you know, online, especially Sailrite. Sailrite is an actual marine company that, you know, makes canvas materials and sails and stuff like that, covers for ships. That's originally what got me onto this, but because I don't have any access to using any of the currency online, I actually use well, I don't know if you call it real American currency. I use Federal Reserve notes and stuff when I got this. I had to go to Hobby Lobby. It was the only place I could find one that was of good quality. Yes, they sell them at Harbor Freight. Yes, they sell them at other places, but this was actually a higher grade name brand. It was $20. And the threading, it comes in a big spool, and it's 10. So if you want a big spool, which is about half this size maybe, I think it's $10 in this, which is tufting twine. But then you have paracord, and you get 6 strands per, you know, so you're actually getting a lot of threading to do a sewing job with once you get the hang of this. So that's a pretty good, decent price then if you're getting 100 foot of paracord. And there's what? I think there's what, 550 paracord. Usually how many strands did I pull out of this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I pulled 6 strands actually out of the one I had, or 7. I think the one I had actually had 7 strands in. I don't understand that. 6 strand or 7 strand. Yeah, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I know I had another strand out of it. So depending on what kind it is, they'll have various strands in it. I mean, not all paracord is the same. There are several kinds. There's actually several different kinds of gauges of paracord. So I was like, okay, so you have, I believe it's 35, and there's another one, and then you have 55, and then you have the other heavier duty stuff that's like, I think they said it was like I had almost 3,000 pounds of toe strength after one cord. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm pretty sure that's not cheap. So yeah, this is basically military grade 550 paracord, I believe. I didn't know exactly what kind, but it came with 7 strands in it, so it's probably not 550. It's probably like have 7 strands in it. I'll have to look that up for you. It's on Wiki. So anyway, this is the lining that comes with it, and it does work in your sewing awl. So if you have to do any stitching or whatever, this would probably be pretty useful for doing canvas material. But this stuff right here, once you double it up or triple it up, it's going to be pain in the rear. So, like as we were discussing, I use this sporting adhesive that's used for sports equipment, military gear that you can buy at the store now. But yeah, I just wanted to see if this would work. And then what you have to do, like I said before, is you have to glue the end, run it through the awl, and make sure you have enough. You know, that's what it looks like, but I'm just using this piece of foam as a demonstration to show what it looks like. But you usually start at one end and work your way down, but you have to leave enough for the actual locking side, and this is the back side, and that's the out. Actually, this would be the top side. So, so I made it funny. But anyhow, once you get to the end of that, you know, it's like, okay, that's the way I want it. You know, make sure you put it in a knot that'll stay. You know, cut it off, or burn the ends, considering this is paracord. You know, so you can burn them off. But I wouldn't recommend this on foam, it's flammable. But like I said, once you get it, you probably want to do a triple knot. And then there you go, that's your sewed seam. That's what it looks like. But if you were to actually get one of these, and that's what I use, I just got one of these so I could just keep my thread in here at all times. You know, dental floss works in this, fishing line works in this, pretty good, depending on what poundage it is. And this is the actual waxed line that came with it. And I've used different kinds of line just to, you know, try out different stuff. So, but you would actually, the same thing applies when you put your cordage through here. If it will actually fit through that hole, you can widen that out a little bit. And you're going to run it through here. Okay, I didn't demonstrate this part. You're going to run your cord through here, if you can. If you don't have wax in it like I do. There it goes. You take this off. Okay. Then you run it through this hole right here. And then you're going to pull it up. Okay. And then you can wrap it around this thumbtack. And that's for tension. And your thumb goes right there. You know, that's to help you pull on it. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put it through your, I don't remember what they call this thing anymore, your chuck. Slide it back down on there. Kind of tighten it up a little bit, make sure it's in that groove. There's a groove right here. And then you're going to screw this down. Make sure your needle's in there decently. Then you're going to run this, like I said, through here. And it's kind of the same situation as with the paracord. You might have to burn the end of it a little bit in order to get it to fit through there. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a pain in the rear, which is why a lighter comes in handy. And then you have the same situation. See how it runs? When you put the needle in there, make sure this valley is actually running with the hole right here and with this. And so, so again. Now you have one side. See how I'm pulling that out? So what you would do is like, okay, this is how long this is, right? So if I want to do this again, I would actually start like this, go through, pull my piece out, right? This is the actual length we're going this way. Okay? Go back in. Go up and next over, right? As you see, as I'm pulling this out, you see it wants to bunch up. And you're about to figure out why I don't really care about this kind of cordage anymore, especially if it gets old. It's a pain in the rear. Okay, then you loop it through there like we showed you on the white one. See right there? Ta-da! Come back up. Okay, halfway up is my recommendation. Or until you can get this cordage to pull down. Then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to slide it through here. And yes, this is kind of a pain in the rear because you're doing it by hand. See, and then you're going to lock it through. Notice we have 2 stitches in there now. You're going to do it again. You're going to move over a little bit. You're going to lock it through. And you're going to pull on it, and it's going to naturally snug on itself. Okay, now you have a loop. See, when we pull on it like there, that loop comes out. And it does it with paracord too. So depending on what kind of material this is, like I said, I used to be pretty fast at this. Alright, depending on what kind of material this is and what kind of cordage you're using depends, you know, it's going to be the whole outcome of the paracord wants to, like I said, spin and bundle up a little bit. But this heavier duty like tufting twine and wax threading, but once you get the paracord through there, that one side, like I said, this piece, depending on what kind of material you're using, and then you just tighten it up. See, you can pull on it like that. Okay, so as you can see, that's what it looks like when you use the threaded wax material. So the paracord does that. This is with the threaded cotton wax material, which is the standard cordage that they sell that goes with this the sewing all kit. And if you don't need to pull on it too much to get it to be taut or tightened up, then you can just undo this, just unwrap it right there, and I'll give you some slack. I use like mine a little slack, so I can just pull on it like this. Then you just go back through and put you another one. Just don't stab yourself, it hurts. Okay, so you see how I'm doing this, right? It's slow going, but once you get set up and get in a comfortable position, I've stitched bags up with this, backpacks, you know, I've made all kinds of cool stuff. You just have to figure out where you're at, get your little situation down, figure out how it's going to act and what hand you like to use the most. I would recommend keeping a little bit of, you know, there you go, you pull it through, boom, okay? Or, yeah, see how that works? I don't know if y'all can see that. Okay, so, and you can be pretty organized with this, you know, you can just kind of eyeball it, go, okay, pull it back through. You know, once you get the hang of it, like I say, I recommend practicing on some thinner material like this first. Pull it through. See, it will tighten up. You can get it hella tight. Alright, so now you can go right here. See? Pull back through. See how that knot's forming? Once you get past the crappier part of your cordage, and you get hang of it, and then you pull through, and you can actually tighten this up. That's kind of why you want the thumb or this tack roped around here, so when you pull on it, if you really need to tighten it up. And you can see right here where it's locking together. But if we turn it over, this is the outside, okay? This is always going to be on this side. The locking side is usually going to be on the side that you can't see. And this is what the seam looks like with the cordage that comes with it, which is a threaded, waxed cotton cordage, whatever you want to call it. And if you screw up, like I said, you can take it apart. Go back through like this. This is what I do when I screw up. I'm like, okay, I didn't like that. I messed up somewhere. Or, you know, if you ain't happy with that, you're like, okay, well, I just pre-punched my holes. Is another kind of thing you might want to think about. If the material's too thick, you might want to pre-punch your holes. Because these needles aren't, well, let's see, I think it was $1 and something. Some stores are expensive because, you know, you have to have it imported and they don't have anything local because they don't buy a lot of sewing gear. But if you live someplace where people are like, you know, they sew a lot, you know, like traditional hand skills, they're not like you just buy everything and import everything. If you live in a part of the country where they actually do hand skill type stuff, crafts and things like that, then yeah, you're not going to have to worry about it being too expensive. So, but I recommend getting one of these, to be honest with you. It just seems a lot easier and faster. And once you get more proficient at it, I used to be really, really good at this until I got a different pair of glasses and my eyesight started getting horrible. But yeah, then you can, you know, the cordage is decent. You can actually say, hey, you know what? I was going to start on that. I've changed my mind, or I don't have time. And then you pull it back through, you know, until you get to a stopping point again. It's like, hey, you know what? This isn't working. Wind your cordage back up. See how I'm doing this? Okay, I didn't know if anybody ever seen one of these before. Like I said, I've only been using this for about 2 years now. But I've actually had to sew things by hand with a nail or thread and put the cap back on it. It's got a hole in there too for some reason. I haven't quite figured that out. Maybe it's, oh yeah, okay, it's for the bobbin. So there you go. But you can pull this out as much cordage as you need to do the job. Say for instance, if I was going to run a seam all along here, like I said earlier, leave yourself about that much extra, okay? And then just pull your mount right there, right? Now you need to figure out what side you want it on. Well, if this is the outside, then I need to be doing it from the other direction, right? So you just say, okay, well, I'm going to go this way. So what you're going to do is you're going to start here. This is what I usually do. And you're going to pull the actual, remember the piece I showed you that goes like that? Okay, do it one more time. Okay, and now we're going to start. So I'm going to go underneath, directly next door. Right? See how the loop did? Just pass it through. See how that went in? Then just go next door over a little bit. Try not to stab yourself. And the side you're actually wanting to lock through, usually in the wax thread, will actually come through on its own. Especially if you're using the thumbtack. See how that went in? There's another one. You just go next door again. And don't stab yourself. This thing hurts. Okay, there's one. I'm not going to demonstrate a stab wound, so don't get all weird with me. Okay, that goes like that. See how this side is? That's the slack or the spool side. And notice how I'm going like this. See, and that's the direction. What? See, I just split my thread. You got to watch out for that. Okay, that's the direction I came from. And you pull back down. This is the side you're going to lock through. It's always going to be looping like that if you did it correctly. So then you pull it through. Then you pull it down. Then you go over a little bit. Then you do it again. See how we're doing this? But once you get proficient at this, see, pull down. And boom, there's a little loop right there. Once you get proficient at this, like I said, I'm just using this foam for demonstration. I'll actually do some projects here pretty quick. That I need to do before winter time gets here, because we're going to do some traveling. And I'm just showing, you know, the Roman gnome type situation, you know, tools of the trade here. Because I do a lot of traveling and I have to do a lot of repair, and I really, like I said, I'm not too good at doing the video stuff. But just for practice and posterity purposes, see, there it is again. As it goes through, you pull the thread through. So once you get the hang of this, and you got your setup pretty decently, like I said, it ain't the straightest, but you figure it out. You're like, oh, okay, I got this, and you'll be able to pull this off a lot straighter. See, once you get your threading all in a row, and you're like, okay, I want this side. You know exactly what you want, and you've done this a few times, and you're practiced up. Like I said, I recommend starting on something a little bit more basic first, to warm up, you know, like warming up before a race or something. Just kind of like, okay, well, let me try this out first and see what patterns work well for me and how I should hold this and whatever, okay? So, and like I said, if you goof up, that's what I keep saying, don't waste your twine, don't cut it as soon as you get done. Practice on actually removing it and pulling it back out. Or, you know, what we call seam ripping. You know, if you're trying to actually reuse a garment or something, you might be able to get an older nail or a needle and then pull the threading apart and reuse that material so you can use it for something that you need. Especially in a pinch, if you're like, oh, I need to patch something, or you know, some of my gear's boogered up and I don't exactly have anything available and I'd like to just go ahead and fix it. Because that happens. You know, like shoes, or even I have to make something real quick to carry some gear in. And yes, you could probably even use this to, they make smaller needles too. That'll fit this. This is actually a needle of the same kind, but it's for, you know, real teeny tiny thread. And I can't see that hardly anymore, so you wonder why I don't use it. But I have it. Okay, it's the same thing, but it's smaller, and I believe I got this at Hobby Lobby too, but I just went in the fine threads in the sewing section, and they carried these. I do believe they have two different styles, and if you want to get a different... But this is the smaller one. This is for threading, so if you want to use the hand stitcher and use real fine thread or real fine nylon string, they do make the needles, so that's why I got that. But I just can't see it anymore. So anyhow, you pull out what you're not wanting to mess up, and like I said, you just, hey, you know what, this ain't working out, or you're just practicing and you don't want to waste your practice thread. Because this, you know, unless you bought the big spool altogether, a good setup, you know, with an extra needle is going to run you about, well, here it'll run you probably $30 for the sewing all setup and the actual spool. We're not talking about the little spool that comes with it, because it comes with threading already, but it has, at this store, this location here, you actually sell an extra needle. And you notice, you see I got extra needles in here. It comes with a crooked one. If I remember right, it comes with the this curved one, and it comes with the straight, and they have a place to put them. As you can see, I have these other smaller needles in here too. I have the regular sewing needle, and I got this other one for backup. Okay, and they all fit in there together. So you just take this needle back out when you want to store it. Say, okay, well, I'm done with that. I don't want to do it. So you pull the needle out. See where I'm going with this? And put it back in this hole right there, see it? And then these other aftermarket needles that you're trying to get, some of them don't fit, so you have to slide, just in case you wonder, how am I going to keep them needles in there? You're going to fit this one in there. It'll fit in there, you just got to push. Okay? Then you wind your twine back up, like I said before. I'm not going to do it all the way, because then I'll have to re-spool this, and I'll be a pain in the rear. Okay, you're going to wind this back up all the way inside of it, and that's how you store it, like this. Okay, and then when you have it stored and you're not using it, put all your needles back in there like this, and that's how I store it. So all the twine's always in here, as long as this doesn't come off, and all the needles are locked inside of here. All the needles are locked inside of there when you store it. It's kind of like a little fishing rod too. That's kind of weird. But I thought I'd demonstrate that while I have a few minutes, and fixing to get back into doing a little sewing, so such and such. But just to kind of show you how I did this and what you can expect out of paracord. But like I said, this is foam, and you can use this probably on some thinner canvas material, but expect to have to, whatever you're pushing through, especially if it's double layered or something else, you might have to pre-punch some of the holes. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you guys. And I'm Glenn Monroe, the Roman Gnome, and I've been watching, well, the Roman Gnome. I try to keep it to a 5-minute minimum, but I don't think it's going to work. So, I'll see you later.